Howdy Google Ads fans, and welcome back. Let's take a look at location extensions. As you can see from this image here, we have a couple location extensions in a search for AdWords agency. This is an actual old picture. This is not our address anymore that you're seeing below our ad, and the format is a little bit different. But what are location extensions good for? Great for local businesses, right? A brick and mortar awareness is important. So if you have one location or multiple locations, you could actually get these multiple locations showing up in your ads. It lends legitimacy, right? Even if you're trying to generate online sales, having an actual physical location lends a lot of legitimacy to your brand. And you could also make people aware that you have locations that they might not have been aware of. You need to have a Google My Business account to have location extensions, and that's going to be linked to AdWords. If your account is under the same email address, and it's really easy, you'll be able to link it by default. It'll be linked by default. And if you have a client account, ask them to give you either access to the Google My Business account, or if the client has a Google My Business account and it's associated with the Google Ads account you're managing on the client's behalf, it'll be linked by default there also in your My Client Center. And we'll talk about My Client Center for agencies way down later in the course. Part of your location extensions will include business hours, reviews you've gotten, directions, whether or not you're open and closed, and if you're a brick and mortar store that's tracking results with Google My Business, whether or not it's busy at certain times, things like that. And that might get included in a Google location extension. And again, you don't have the control over what elements are included. Either you're running a location extension or you're not. If you don't specifically add a location extension, this is pretty interesting, Google's going to most likely automate that extension. Google will show a linked address associated with a business account, even if you don't specifically go ahead and add Google location extensions, but you could disable them. You could opt out of location extensions if you'd like. A pro tip is that you could use filters at the campaign level based on your targeting settings of the campaign. So if I'm specifically targeting a certain area, let's say we're dealing with a client of ours down in Miami that has a number of high-level showrooms for furniture, we might only want to show a specific location in a specific campaign. And I'm going to show you that you could select which locations you want to show for any given campaign or ad group. So that's pretty cool. So let's jump back into Google Ads and take a look at what it looks like to set up a location extension. So here we are back in Google Ads. I'm going to twirl down location extensions, and I have the option to create location extensions. I could either find a Google My Business account if I'm not associated. I could enter the domain name, and then I could send a link request. Or I could link to an account I know. Google will take my email address associated with that, and it will see if it finds any locations. This is a burner account. I don't have any actual addresses associated with this account. I could request access to another Google My Business account. So if you have a client and you need to request access to link the accounts, you could enter in the email address associated with that Google My Business account and send that access request. Okay, so there's not much I could show you in this account, but I'm going to jump into a live Google account we have for our business so you can take a look at what this looks like. So I'm under a campaign of ours, under ads and extensions, and I'm going to add a new location extension. So if I went, to ads, these are ads, and I go to extensions, and these are extensions, and I could add an extension, and I'm going to choose to add a location extension. This is how you go and add location extensions once you have an active campaign already. I could either add this to a campaign or an ad group. I'm going to choose to add it to a campaign. So I could, by default, Google will sync all locations, but I could also click two options down, specific locations I pick. So this is our current address, but if I had multiple addresses associated with my Google My Business account, I could say, for this campaign, only show this specific address as a Google extension, as a location extension, or I could select 2 out of 3 or however many I want. And I could clear them all and click cancel. And that will give me a lot of customizability with regards to how I want my location extensions to perform. Remember that location extensions will run automatically unless you specifically opt out. And I don't really think you should opt out. I think by and large, it's really good if you do have brick and mortar locations and that's a location that's been verified by Google when you set up your Google My Business account. You have to get the postcard in the mail, you enter in the PIN code. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't have that attached to an ad. Google shows location extensions a lot. It's, to me, based on my experience, this is anecdotal, it's not actually documented or statistically tested, but I think it's the location that they are most favorable, it's the ad extension that they are most favorable towards. So use them if you do have brick and mortar locations. So that wraps up our conversation about location extensions. In the next lecture, we'll talk briefly about promotion extensions and how to use them. I look forward to seeing you guys in a couple seconds in the very next lecture.